Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. You know, when I first started this, I called it the laboratory of the painting process. And even though it was a bit wordy, it really does, in a way, capture the idea of what I had in mind. Sort of get to the process and the experimentation of what goes on, we could say, behind the scenes before beginning to paint. And I would say probably the most fundamental thing that I do is draw to sort of get a sense of what it is I plan to paint. And last week we looked at thumbnails and sketches. And somebody said to me, well, do you do a thumbnail and then a sketch and then you paint always? And I said, well, no, because if I'm plein air painting, I might do a thumbnail, which may be a few lines of structure, so I'm really clear on that. Also with a viewfinder to make sure that I'm really cropping it the way I'm thinking and my thumbnail reflects it. And then with yellow ochre, I just paint it in right on the canvas, yellow ochre and a little bit of mineral spirits. And of course, yellow ochre is, if it's not in the right place, you can wipe it away and it doesn't stain the canvas. If I'm doing a larger, more sustained painting in the studio for any length of time, it could take me several hours maybe, I think spending, I don't know, an hour, 20 minutes, what degree of finish, to draw the thing out and get a good sense, particularly of where things sit in space before beginning, is vital to my mind. So, you know, there's different uses for them. But here was the image we looked at last week, the photograph, and here was the thumbnail. And I wanted to show you the thumbnail again because we're going to refer to it at the end. Because I do the painting, I'm going to show you a short demonstration sequence of that now. There's no palette. My experience now with filming the palette and then the longer demonstration videos that I did a couple of times, it's just so time consuming. I'm gonna have to find an editor or something to do that for me at some point. So you'll just see me painting shape by shape, you know, going through each one, adding up to the painting. And then at the end, I want to discuss my painting, looking again at the thumbnail, and then adjustments I made to that. So you'll kind of see the process as it goes through, not just finished, but then the process of actually finishing it. So I hope you find it useful, and I'll see you at the end. So here I've just got cobalt blue and titanium white. And, you know, it's just a shape. There isn't much gradation in that sort of small a piece. And so I'm just putting that in, and then you can see I've mixed chrome oxide green, and then this is the lit side, you know, one's warm, one's cool. And you'll see that I get rid of this tree that I'm painting right now because it's a tree that isn't actually part of the big tree on the right, the one that I'm painting here. And in the end, it just got sort of confusing of what it was. But there's just sort of the big shape and then dragging in the shadows that are on that side. And then you see I've adjusted the chroma, the intensity of the red as it moves to the left from dull on the right side to there to kind of pull us into the painting. And there's that tower, which I also get rid of in the end. And just very simple sort of grayed out white for the sides of the barn. Chrome oxide green and some yellow ochre and cad yellow for the big bush in front of the bush tree in front of the barn. And a little bit of shadow underneath it, a couple of shadows back there. This is where I want you to go, right? Those are the big shifts of value and contrasting edges. This is just blocking in the big massive green. And, you know, I shift the green around and sort of it's like I'll take this color and put it in for a while and then I'll mix some yellow ochre with it. And maybe as I come down, I mix some ultramarine blue with it in order to make it darker. But I'm wanting to modulate the colors somewhat, not dramatically, but enough so that it doesn't just look like it's been house painted, sort of. And I'm sort of looking at where the shapes are. You know, I stop and look at where the shapes are. Here, I'll put some ultramarine blue with it to darken it up. Particularly as it come down, because I want it to be darker in the foreground and getting lighter to kind of push you into the painting. But, you know, I'm just sort of getting these shapes in there that I've got sort of a lighter, kind of cooler green for where the leaves of the sunflowers are, then a really intense green back there where I want you to go. Just drawing in the lines for the cart track, which I adjust them later so that they don't stand out quite so much. I sort of get the sense that there's deep grass coming into them. And then, these deep grasses, these ochre grasses, which I like so much, and the big shape of it sweeping down into the foreground. I get that in, and then sort of a shadow color underneath that, just sort of adjusting the edges so that it gives a sense of deep grass with some shadows underneath it. And then I get in a window, and there were more than one, but I thought one would be enough. And you see, it's not black. You can sort of, it's dragged in there. And then this is all the stuff for the sunflowers. And you can see that I'm just painting here and in the foreground in particular, just some shapes. I'm not getting over excited about, sunflowers, I got to paint them like sunflowers. They're quite muted back there, more intense here. And then I get some fresh color and get one or two places in that really have a good hit of color. And that's pretty much it. And there's the finished painting. But I find that my attention is getting pulled back to that red roof and those horizontal bands back at the end of the path. And it's sort of too strong. And so I adjusted it so that I softened those, and I softened the role of the building so it kind of fell into the landscape a little more. And then there was a sense that I could move around the whole image more easily, even though the structure still underlies it and is still holding the same center of interest. So I hope you found that helpful. Someone was asking me if I could do still lifes and interiors, and I've got a few weeks lined up here. I can't remember exactly, with some other ideas and landscapes, but I will do some still life, promise, from life, and setting up a still life and ideas for that. And so I hope you have a great and creative week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.